My name is Cara Benson. I'm a poet. I wrote Made, which is a collection of prose poems for BookThug. Made is about humans making things, and which I ultimately see as an act of creation as well as an act of destruction. Anytime we create something, we're destroying that which already existed. And so at what point is all of our creating now so destructive that we're affecting the planet that we live on in a way that could be troublesome or problematic? So I wanted to explore how we make things with the planet, how we make things between each other, how we make things in public space, how we make things to try to connect ourselves with others, and how maybe ultimately those bridges fail us. This horizontal landscape of banging nouns within which the tribe of us, the tribe that is us, is walking around our spaces and driving through our spaces, trying to figure out where we're going. My first answer would be because it intuitively felt right. To parse it out, I guess, in thinking on it, I guess I wanted, and I don't know if this is true or not, so I'm going to try it on for size. I wanted to explore the notion of the making as an aside to reality. That the making doesn't, that it may be subsidiary to existence in the way that really it's so central to us now, I think. And now I think we make a lot of stuff that sits in boxes. It's so central to us now, but what if it weren't so central to our existence? I was reading Gertrude Stein at the time and just really absorbing her rhythms. And I found that I couldn't write in lines anymore at that time. I could not, a short line, typically the short poem line, wouldn't accommodate the rhythm that I needed to extend out further in the line. So it really started with just extending the sound into the space of the page, across the page. I was working with Juliana Spar at the time. As a student, I was studying with her, and it was prior to writing these poems. I was working on things that were more maybe not forms, not like formalized forms, but writing more in lines, what I would call lines versus prose poems. And she has this habit of, when she's responding to someone's work, she will box things that she likes. So I found myself really wondering in some way inside me when I was writing, would she box this? Is this a boxable piece of writing? And I really hated that was happening in my writing process. I just didn't want, but I don't think we can help it. When we're studying with someone and someone's going to have their direct comment, or even the anonymous reader, like, what's the influence? I don't know that we can really shut everybody out 100%. But I started to really notice this. What will she box? Will she box this? And I found myself naturally moving towards poems that if she was going to box something, she was going to have to box the whole thing. Clark Coolidge's At Egypt, which is, it just has all these banging nouns against each other. It's, if I remember correctly, or this was my impression of it at the time, and I may be wrong, but how it influenced me was that I just remember there being a tremendous amount of nouns just slamming against each other, almost so that I remember writing about it, that I felt like it was this dust storm that he was creating with all these things banging against each other, and he had very few verbs, but it felt so active. And I think that I think I took all the nounness, the thingness, the namingness, which is you know, what we do again as humans is we name things and we make things. I mean, you know, among other things, of course, that we do. I think I was taking the thingness and the naming of Clark into the rhythm of Stein. I am telling story with this. It's a story that, as Bhanu says, it appears, it surfaces. So I didn't want to like have, you know, beginning, middle, and end per se, not intentionally, like because I was trying to resist telling a standard story, but because I don't think that, I mean, I think because nobody was around that we know of at the Big Bang, even if that's how it all started. So every story then begins in the middle of something. The book begins in the middle of things. And so at some point then suddenly a specific narrative appears that, for me, reflects back on the rest of the story. And then to the, I don't know if I want to say it this way, but I guess I'll say it this way. I'll just say to me that then those narrative moments actually start to leak into the moments that aren't in that specific style, that aren't set aside as, this is the tribe doing this. This is the tribe that represents us as people. And I really wanted to make sure that that stood out. But it starts to leak into the other moments. I do think that the narrative moments can provide a way into the book and provide grounding moments for the reader. I do think it's a whirlwind cluster of words going on, and I think that suddenly for almost this oversimplified narrative to occur, I do think it gives not only way in, but like a place for the reader to rest, to not have to work so hard. Yes, I want people to look for the connections within the book, because they're there. The connections are there. Like, look for the moments that the narrative does bleed out into, as it says, you know, desires being what they are, you know, ubiquitous, and how they sneak into moments that we're not paying attention. Like, how much is leaking into the other pieces in the work that when you're not paying attention? How much is it that, you know, wow, actually, story really is unfolding here. You know, if you're paying attention, this is actually, and there are even characters that show up in these set-aside narratives, and then they start showing up in other narratives, in other pieces of the poem. And if so, what is that story? I would want people to think, wonder what is that story that's being told?